it's really easy to understand why somebody would feel guilty. I mean, you're talking about God. You're talking about salvation. You're talking about the most important person, being, reality in all of life. And to not talk with him, something's off. Something's not right. It's like having a marriage where there's coldness, there's distance, and there's a lack of connection. And as that goes on in time and people experience this, there's pain. They feel bad because they're locked up in their hearts. I would ask the question, why aren't you talking, to God? Is there something holding you back? But addressing specifically guilt, it's the guilt of feeling bad. And I think guilt can be a motivator in some ways at times, but guilt can really shut people's hearts down. They just feel they're not enough. And I think the average Christian struggles with that probably the most. They just feel they're not enough. They're not devoted enough or holy enough. And they feel bad and they wish they were more. And they just don't find that kind of interest. They go home, instead of reading the Bible, they're watching TV or reading a book or whatever. They find other things to fill the void of their needs, their interests, and God's not doing it. And then they go to church and they hear some passionate preacher or some guest speaker, or they watch a YouTube video and they're like, man, I wish I could be like that, but I'm not. And they feel like a second-class citizen. So for me, if I were to help somebody that was struggling with guilt, I would want to encourage them what God says about them in the Word, what he thinks and feels about them, how much worth they have to him. They have. And so guilt can really damage our walk with God over the long term. We have to deal with it as quickly as possible, because guilt and shame go hand in hand. Guilt comes through the lens of what we do. I feel bad for what I did. Shame is feeling bad for who you are. And guilt usually starts leading people into shame. They just feel shameful, even if they're not articulating it. They just feel bad. They feel they're not enough. They feel they're never enough. And I love the message of grace, because the message of grace helps us see that none of us have ever been enough by our effort, by our devotion, by our willingness. Jesus made us enough by his sacrifice. But he does want us to respond so we can grow. So guilt is a challenge, but God will heal that. I mean, guilt is removed when we receive mercy and we feel we're okay, we're right. When you feel bad for hurting somebody else and they're good with you and they forgive you and you move forward, you're not carrying guilt anymore. You feel freed, because guilt's a prison. It's a prison of feeling bad about what you come up short in, what you did wrong in. And we need to get out of that prison with God, or we can stay in it for years. And one thing I've learned about people is that we run from pain. We don't do well with pain. And so if God is your source of pain, you'll run from him. And then you'll feel even more guilt for doing that. And many believers are on this treadmill. And I love to help people see God the way he sees them, to help give them hope that God is the more for you God than you think. He's the for you God. He's the committed lover. And he wants to help us in our weakness so we can thrive in the relationship. Well, I hope this has been an encouragement to you. If so, I'd really love to hear from you. Just jot some thoughts in the comments below. You can also hit the like button. You can subscribe to my channel. Matter of fact, if you want some insight on spiritual growth, I have a free PDF link below. Just click it and you'll get some notes on some key areas that will help you grow spiritually. And if you're interested, that would be great. And so thank you for watching this video, checking out my channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon.